I'm Amy Morgan, the feature writer for the Marriage Initiative. I am so pleased today to introduce you to Dr. David Hawkins. Dr. Hawkins is a clinical psychologist who founded the Seattle-based Marriage Recovery Center with more than 40 years experience working with those in highly conflicted relationships. He specializes in helping women heal from narcissistic and emotional abuse. Dr. Hawkins holds an MBA, a master's in social work, another master of arts, and a Ph.D. And he's a speaker and trainer for the American Association of Christian Counselors and writes for crosswalk.com, cbn.org, and believe.com. He has made regular appearances on Moody Radio and Faith Radio and is a best-selling author of more than 30 books, including his 2017 When Loving Him is Hurting You. Dr. Hawkins, thank you so much for being here.
Well, Amy, it's a privilege. Thank you so much for having me. And I know you tackle very difficult topics, and this is emotional abuse, narcissism. These are hot topics and loaded topics, and they should be, quite honestly. They should be. They should be on the front. We should be talking about, as a nation, we should be talking about it a lot more because it's an epidemic. It's horrible, and I thank you for all that you're doing in that regard.
Well, tell us what exactly is, narcissism or narcissistic tendencies. What are they, and how do they play out for the clients you see?
Yeah, you just made an important distinction because there's a lot of confusion about, so narcissism is a buzzword, and it certainly comprises anything from selfishness to domination, self-centeredness, overbearing. We could go on and on and on with the different traits. But so NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, of course, is a diagnosable disorder. Self-adulation and domination, lack of empathy, and so on. So those are aspects of NPD. And typically, I don't see a lot of NPD, to be frank. I see a lot of narcissistic personality traits. And by the way, a trait, so defensiveness. Let's take defensiveness, just that as a trait. If you think about that, Amy, if you think about a relationship that is ridden with defensiveness, defensiveness means you can't bring an issue to me. So we've got a marriage, and marriages, as you well know, and as I well know, I'm married, and we have to have the resilience to be able to tackle difficult issues. So if I or anyone else is defensive and says, oh, no, you can't bring that to me. I'll flip it back on you. I'll rewrite history. I'll gaslight you. I'll deny, I'll defend, I'll minimize, I'll rationalize. And the list goes on and on and on. And now what do we have? We have this person, the victim of narcissistic and emotional abusive tendencies or traits. Now they are virtually emotionally alone, totally. So now they must sit with their own pain. There's no person, they can't take it to this mate who is so well defended. They are emotionally immature. So now an issue cannot be resolved. So now we've got an issue, then we've got another issue, then we've got another issue, because marriages are, there's lots of issues: children, money, sex, in-laws, issue after issue after issue. And we've got to be able to resolve those issues. And the narcissistic and emotionally abusive relationship cannot resolve issues. And so now, typically, I'm going to use the gender pronoun she. 90% of the referrals that we get at the Marriage Recovery Center are women, and they've suffered from emotional abuse for years and years and years. Anyway, so what is narcissism? Narcissism is profound selfishness, profound emotional immaturity, and the inability to work out issues between two people. And so now we've got this very unhealthy relationship, two unhealthy people, frankly. We've got a victim, we've got a perpetrator. And so there's a lot to talk about, but that's what's going on in this relationship.
Well, and I want to get you to describe the scenario of, like you said, it's 90% of the time it's the woman who has been the victim of this,
yes,
who comes to you. And I do think it's really important just to make a a blanket statement about safety, that of course you're not encouraging, nobody's encouraging anyone to stay in a relationship that is unsafe.
No,
So I just
no.
wanted to throw that out there to make sure we were clear.
Yeah. So a typical scenario. So, sadly, tragically, our phone, when it rings, and it rings a lot, and it's typically a woman who has been in an abusive marriage for many years. So it's very, very common for this person to be 45 years old, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75 years old. That's, very, very common, very common. So this 60-year-old woman or 55-year-old woman, and they've got 3 children, and she has been, what I described a few moments ago, she's been more and more and more stifled, more and more and more suffocated. And I want everybody to be thinking about this more and more and more, because the impact is cumulative. It's cumulative. So that's why I don't get any 21-year-olds. There's no 21-year-olds that call us. There's no 25-year-olds. Very few 30-year-olds. For a fair number of 35, 40, 50, and like I said. All right, so she has now her being stifled, dominated, defended against, rewritten history against, her story being unable to be heard. She has been silenced. I'm not picking on anybody here, but she's been silenced by the church. She's been silenced by the community. She's been silenced by her friends, even well-meaning. So, but she is alone in this world. And now the impact is cumulative, and she's becoming more and more depressed, more and more discouraged. Physiologically, all of this begins to take a toll. And so we have PTSD, where she's becoming hypervigilant. When is it going to happen again? When will he silence me again? When will he roll his eyes and invalidate my experience again? Is it going to happen this afternoon or not until tomorrow? And will it be overt? Will he say, you are crazy? Or will it be covert? Will it be him rolling his eyes and going, oh, come on, are you kidding me? Or will he walk out of the room? Will he do something covert? And so then we have the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And now she feels really crazy, because when her friends ask, well, what's going on? She doesn't know how to explain it. I mean, what do I just say? Well, he rolls his eyes. And Amy, come on. You're really upset that he rolls it? Well, maybe if he rolls his eyes again and again and again and again, and walks out of the room again and again, and tells her that she's crazy again and again, and involves the children again and again. Anyway, it's all cumulative. There's this tidal wave. Physiologically, she begins to experience distress. And she has fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, autoimmune disorders, Lyme's disease, any number of different headaches, anxiety, distress. So she is in a world of hurt. And again, please remember, she is unheard. She is silenced, and she has no clear path forward on how to discuss this covert emotional abuse. So that's what's happening. And we're a limited number of places, Amy. I'm always shocked that there's not, why are there not more clinics, more, what, folks, nation, we need to be offering more and more. Why are we not, you can't find a book for men on recovering from emotional abuse. There's maybe, I don't know. I can't give you a title. I can't think of one. We're fortunately trying to get to the point. We're getting to the point where we're offering services to victims of emotional and narcissistic abuse. So we're finally getting up to speed there a bit, but very few. We're the only program in the nation that I know about that offers programming for perpetrators of emotional abuse. So anyway, that's a whole different topic, but that's back to the scenario. So this 55-year-old woman calls our office, and she desperately is seeking to be understood. And I'll stop with this, Amy. When she is understood, true story here, this has happened hundreds of times. When I look at her and I say, I believe you. she starts crying uncontrollably. And through the power of Zoom or on the phone or in person, she says, "You don't know." See, I'm tearing up here. This is emotional stuff, Amy. This woman says, "You don't know the power of your words." And thank God that you wrote the book, When Loving Him is Hurting You. It's not the greatest book on the planet. It's not. But it's my effort to hear her. And
It really
anyway,
fills a need. It fills the
yeah,
need, because too, another thing that I've learned from talking to you and just doing some reading, the narcissistic tendency, the person with that, they have a great facade. They might be the mayor, they might be the pastor.
true.
Everybody loves him. They're charming, they're charismatic. And so that leaves her even more alone, because when they typically go to counseling, if they'll go to counseling, they just do a big snow job. So she's even more, not your counseling, but typical counseling, right? Because you said the client who usually comes to you, she's been to counseling before.
Oh, so true, Amy. So true. In the first session with her, she will ask in one form or another, "Will you believe me? Will you believe me? Will you believe what I'm saying here?" So she doesn't fully believe herself. Remember that she, like, what's happened? I don't know how to put words to what's happening here. How do I say he invalidates me at every turn? How do I just say that he invalid anyway? So she asked me, "Will you believe me?" Because he's well liked. He is well liked. He typically is charming. He typically is successful, kind of unbelievably successful, quite honestly. I have so many where they've, like, yeah, they're the mayor, they're the pastor, they're the head of the Chamber of Commerce, and they are all that in a bag of Snickers,
Yeah.
except for behind the scenes. Then when his feathers are ruffled, and that's it. That's where everything gets really dynamic. When his feathers are ruffled, then out comes I call it the 3D of narcissism: defensiveness, domination, and dismissiveness. Defensiveness, no, didn't happen. No, not me. Oh, it was only that. Well, really, wait a minute, you. Okay, anyway, defended. He's well defended against. He is dismissive. Oh, really? Come on, really? Really? You're making a okay. And domination. He can be, oh my goodness, when his feathers get ruffled, then out comes the hidden attorney, out comes the bully, out comes this whole different side that nobody sees. Nobody sees. And so anyway, she's going to ask me, she will ask me, are you going to, not only are you going to believe me, are you really going to dive into this and see what's really going on? There's another really quick topic, Amy, because when I talked to him, I made up this term. I don't know if I made it up or if I read it somewhere. The term is mutualizing, and you've heard it in this kind of language. Well, Dr. Hawkins, it takes two to tango. I mean, we all know that. I mean, it's a two-way street, right, Dr. Hawkins? We all know that. I mean, come on. I mean, you think that, I mean, come on. It takes two to make a problem, right, Dr. Hawkins? We all know that. And then I look at him and go, yeah, that's actually not true. Not true. Well, what do you mean not true? Well, actually, you may be presenting more of the problem than she is, actually. Oh, no, well, it takes two to tango. Come on, you've heard that. Well, I actually have heard it. And at times it's true, and at times it ain't true. So, all right.
No, that is so interesting. So you've heard this woman, she's trusted you, you've heard, because you get it. So now what do you do? Because like you said, you're kind of a lone ranger out here with your protocol. You're a successful protocol, I must say. So
it is successful. So I introduce a medical term at this stage when I do the marriage evaluation. By the way, most people have, is this the right word, vetted themselves? I mean, she's read my book. She's She's done so much work. By the way, parentheses, remember this term, Amy. She has been over functioning. She's watched all of my videos and all of other people's videos. I mean, good for her. She's read all these books. And by the way, he's read none of them. He's watched none of the videos, and yet he still wants to say it takes two to tango. Anyway, so the protocol. So I do this marriage evaluation, and then I introduce this term, and the term is triage. It's a medical term, and the term, so if we pictured, I tell this story. If we go into the emergency room, in one bay is a man who's got a severe migraine headache. Is that serious? Absolutely. And the next bay is someone with a broken arm. Is that serious? No question about it. Broken, fractured arm needs attention. In the next bay, someone has a cardiac arrest. So the doctor says, you know what? Your headache and your broken arm are going to need to wait because we need to take care of this more pressing issue. So what I find, Amy, is as a psychologist, when I'm doing this evaluation, I need to find out, is this really a couples counseling problem? Is it a two-way street? Or is it, oh my goodness, no, from asking the kind of questions I know to ask, is it, oh boy, is he guilty of the 3D of narcissism, domination, defensiveness, dismissiveness? And if so, we can't do couples counseling. It would be inappropriate to do couples counseling. So probably 1 in 10 phone calls that I get, it is appropriate. Okay, yes, maybe we can move into couples counseling. 90% of the time, nah. He needs to go into our men's program, where we've got a 3-tiered program. I won't get into all of that, but it's a 3-tiered lengthy program for men who have been emotionally abusive. She needs to do some recovery work for her PTSD or CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. She needs some help in naming her victimization. And then as he goes through our men's program, as she goes through our women's program, then at the right time, in the right way, if appropriate, then we can maybe move into couples counseling, but very, very carefully and cautiously.
Well, and I know I asked this to you. This is my burning question. And I would think for our marriage champions, this is something, because if a couple like this has landed up, in their area, and come to them maybe as a marriage mentor because the wife is dragging him in and they're one of the people on the stop before they get to you, and they're going, oh wow, this is really above my pay grade, this is really hard. And so one of their things that I would think that they might be thinking, because I was thinking, is why would a man with narcissistic tendencies even be at all interested in going through your rigorous program? Why? But they do. So tell me why.
Because there's one reason, and women don't particularly like me to say this, but this is where the motto, there has to be a breakdown before there's a breakthrough. Things have to fall apart. And so I don't know if I shared this with you before, Amy, but I have a range of phone calls that come in from women, and they range from a woman who's trepidatious and just uncertain and like, I don't want to really rock his boat, all the way up to, let's rock it, baby. Let's look. I can't live like this, Dr. Hawkins. So I am ready. I say, are you ready for, most important word, Amy, are you ready for an intervention? You know the word. We all know the word. It comes out of the drug and alcohol field, and interventions are highly, highly effective. Not 100%, but highly effective. So what she doesn't understand, and I help her to understand this. So remember, this is a woman, she's 50 years old. She's been married 25 years. They have 3 children. They have a nice home. He really doesn't want his world rocked. He doesn't like it. So will he put up a fuss when she does an intervention? Oh, you better believe it. You'll have to go to work. You'll have to earn your own money. He'll put up a big fuss. And after he's done fussing, then I get the phone call. Then I have willingness he'll go through our program. And by the time he's done through our initial, it's called a core men's group, then he typically now has internal motivation, and now he'll sign up for our advanced core. And then I have men clamoring to stay in counseling in our core strength program. And I know there's a lot of people that don't believe me on that, but I'm telling you, any of you disbelievers, you're counselors that you think, no, if you got any narcissism, there's no hope. It's just not true. There has to be the breakdown. There has to be a skilled intervention done. But if there's skilled intervention, a skilled breakdown, then my goodness, he typically doesn't want to give up his home, family, kids. He, and at some level, as emotionally immature as he typically is, he still cares about her underneath all of the rubble of defensiveness, domination, and dismissiveness. So we can tap into his internal motivation, albeit with the word threat.
Yeah. Well, and you said that, most of the common wisdom too is for somebody with those super hard problems, entrenched behavior, that there isn't any hope and that she should, cut her losses and leave. But you said that's not what she really wants to do most of the time either.
Amy, it's a beautiful moment when she looks at me and she says, when I ask her, what does she want? 95, 98% of the time, Amy, she looks at me and she says, I still love him. Doggone it, I'm miserable, I'm unhappy, but can you help me see if we can make this work? And that's exactly what I do. I promise her this. I promise her clarity. We will make things clear, and then you can make a choice. So we'll do an intervention. Everybody gasp and breathe deep here. We'll do an intervention, and then we will see how he responds to the intervention. And then you can make a better choice about, do I want to stay with him? Do I not want to stay with him? And I just promise it. I promise it that during the first 14-week core group, I will give you clear feedback. Does he show up? I'll tell you. By the way, here's another important word, Amy, and the word is accountability. And I'm going to go off on a really quick tangent on the word accountability. I just wrote this lengthy article. Everybody talks about accountability. Nobody is doing it. Not really. So we've got men who are saying, "Oh, I can be held accountable." By who? Well, I'm in a Bible study group. Yeah, that's not accountability. Well, I've gone to counseling for 6 sessions. Yeah, that's not accountability. Well, my wife certainly holds me accountable. No, that's not happening. No. We have no accountability at this moment, folks. None. We can have accountability. So in my perfect world, Amy, and this is where people are going to say, yeah, you fell off the turnip truck? What's the truck? Anyway, I'll get some accusations from this, but accountability means we create this safety net for her where if he's going to go into our core men's group and if she's going to go into our women's group, I'm going to let her know. We've got releases signed, so I'm going to let her know exactly how he's doing. I'm going to know exactly what I need to be looking for, not from his lips, from hers. I'm going to want a full documentation on what I'm to be looking for. And then now, armed with all of this information, now I, and maybe some other trained clinicians, trained pastors, trained people can help hold him really accountable for change. Or, well, it will be accountability. We can let her know he ain't showing up. He's not doing the work. He's not turning in the assignments as part of our core men's group. So we all might want to have a 3-way session where we talk very candidly with one another. So anyway, accountability, I'm putting it out there to everyone. Let's get accountability going so that really creates an opportunity for 360-degree review. So now we can really give her and him good feedback and make it a possibility where change is more likely to happen.
Well, and especially with people like this, because you said they're charming. They are very, very effective and skillful at putting up a fantastic veneer. So you really, really need to have someone in there. And again, that's a real component of your program that's different than, like you said, most places don't have that. So
It is charm. That's certainly one aspect of the character issues, Amy. There are many other aspects. I've taken to the notion of emotional immaturity. So I do a lot of talking and thinking about the emotional 6-year-old, the 50-year-old man who's really a 6-year-old. So imagine this man when he's confronted with wrongdoing, which it's okay, wrongdoing happens. Now, when he's confronted, however, he pouts. Oh, that's not going to play well in a relationship. Imagine that he gets irritable. That won't play well. Imagine that he blame shifts. That won't play well. Imagine that he retaliates by retreating, punishing her with silence. That won't play well. Imagine that he tells her that she's making this all up. He invalidates her experience. So notice all of that. Now remember, he doesn't do any of that with his friends. None of it. None. Doesn't pout with his, he wouldn't, come on. He's not going to pout with his friends. He's not going to pout in church. He's not going to withdraw silently and retaliate against his colleagues or whatever. Not likely anyway. So now we've got all of this character junk that she feels, she experiences, and a little bit of that compounded again and again, day in, day out, day in, day out. Amy, it is a tidal wave of bad stuff that damages her, damages the relationship, and frankly, damages him. So it isn't just charm and the glossy exterior. It is, my goodness, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Mr. Hyde is a nasty man in some ways when triggered. So that's what, as you can well imagine now, Amy, when I tackle that stuff, man, I've got some hate mail out there. I've got a fair bit of hate mail. I really do. I'm not looking for more, but there's some men that, I get in there and go like, oh my goodness, you pout a lot. Oh my goodness, you retaliate a lot. Oh my goodness, you invalidate her a lot. Oh my goodness, you're dismissive. Oh my goodness, you're dominant. Oh my goodness, you've got an attorney character inside of you. So, and then I call that stuff out, and now this is where it gets unsettling. And my work and all of our clinicians at the Marriage Recovery Center, we do very, very difficult work, but necessary work.
But let's tell a hopeful story, because I know you have many. You have great testimonials.
I do.
I do. You have many, and of course, I'm not asking you to use real names. But we talked earlier about a couple named John and Jane, quote unquote. So, but let's do, because I think at this point, some people are going, oh, how do we move past? But you have been successful. The men seem to, after several times through the core, they do want to have those character traits changed. They want, once they see it, they don't want to be there, at least for the ones that you work with. So let's.
Absolutely. No, my goodness, this is exciting work, Amy. So I'll talk about John and Jane. So John and Jane are this. I'm thinking of a real couple. I'm going to keep it a bit vague, but Jane kicked John out of the home 3 years ago. He was furious about that. She kicked him out after years of emotional abuse. So he was furious about being kicked out of the home, but they have children. And anyway, after a time of pouting and retaliation and just being furious, he finally found me, and we had a heart-to-heart chat. Hey, look, John, what do you want to do here? You're out of the home, and you're missing your wife, you're missing your kids, and as every day goes by, she's more and more upset. You've left a trail of rubble in your path, and John starts to get it. Like, man, I don't have too many options, do I, Dr. Hawkins? No, you don't, John. You don't. You can remain angry and you can hunker down and blame her. You can do. Just call me when you're done with all that, okay? And we can find a more reasonable path. And we did. And so John then entered our core men's group. Didn't go well. Frankly, didn't go well. But he stayed in there. Then he went through our advanced core men's group. Now he started to get it. And he started to talk to Jane again. And now he starts to take ownership. Everybody, please underline that word, because it's a cornerstone of getting healthy. If it's somebody else's problem, I don't need to change. If it's my problem, I need to take responsibility for it and change. So John started to get it. So he worked through, he read all of the books that we're asking these men to read. He did the assignments. He took ownership. He rendered her a healthy and appropriate apology. So he works through our advanced core group, which is 14 weeks. And then he signs up for the advanced core again. John, oh my goodness. Now you can see a little bit of spark, and Jane starts to like what she's seeing. And now, oh my goodness, Dr. Hawkins, where's my husband? What have you done with him? This man.
Oh,
I like this man. I like this man. What are you're a magician. No, I'm not anyway. And so it's 2 steps forward, 1 back, 2 forward, 1 back. So John then gets through our advanced core the second time, and he signs up for our 6-month core strength program, where now he's working. Now Jane really is liking this man. He is getting healthy. He's growing in emotional maturity. She invites him back into the home, and they have a honeymoon time that is just glorious, and reunification with the kids and everything. Still 2 forward, 1 back, however, 2 forward, 1 back. So he goes through our core strength program. Then he signs up for it again. And actually, he signs up for it again. So, and I have many, many, many stories like that. So it is still 2 forward, 1 back. Truth be told, these in-depth characterological problems. These character problems don't just disappear. There is no quick fix. There's no magical remedy. It's hard work, but men can grow up, and it's an exciting process, and I'm so thrilled to be part of it.
Oh, well, that is just, I love you. I could just talk to you about this forever and ever, but you left us at a good spot, because we now, we have this hope that, because the answer, for so many couples with the narcissistic tendency was just no, but you say yes.
Oh, absolutely.
With the right motivation, they can do
intervention, Amy, with intervention, and then a clear path forward with clear structure, a clear treatment plan, you would want that from any treatment professional, any health provider. You would want what's the path forward here? And we give that, and there is that. And then they follow the path forward. Change can happen and does happen, and everybody gets excited. And so absolutely.
Well, I love that that's where you have led us, and you've really opened our eyes to some of these situations that need to be thought about and talked about. And I know you've given hope to somebody who's been watching today.
Very good.
So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Amy. Good to be with you.
And as always, Marriage Champions, if you'd like to learn more about Dr. Hawkins and the Marriage Recovery Center, you can find us at marriageinitiative.org.